From Game of Thrones hiding a character's life story to the hero's souls decaying in The Walking Dead's title card, here are some of the most bizarre subliminal messages hidden in famous TV shows. Let's start with everybody's favorite show, Game of Thrones. Now, even though Game of Thrones is known for its shock value and character deaths, there's actually more to it than just that. According to the costume designer Michelle Clapton, the series uses subtle subliminal messaging to enhance the character's development. Each outfit is decorated with tiny details that contribute to the character's personality and story arc. For example, Daenerys' dress is adorned with dragon-like blue scales, emphasizing her connection to her dragons and her Targaryen heritage. But our main focus right now is Sansa's wedding dress. It had a dire wolf on it, the sigil of House Stark, being dominated by a lion, the sigil of House Lannister. This symbolized the Starks' inevitable loss of power and control. Even the colors of Sansa's dress tell a story. The costume designer explained how the red weavings depict the growing influence of the Lannisters on Sansa's psyche. This detail is extremely interesting, especially if you are aware of how Sansa slowly evolves to become more like the manipulative Lannisters. While the show's violence is quite out there, these subtle details make it more captivating. It adds a layer of depth to Game of Thrones characters. Clapton's incorporation of symbolic messaging in the costumes is amazing, and it helps to enhance the audience's understanding of the characters and their motivations. Game of Thrones isn't the only show to hide hints at its characters' futures though, because The Walking Dead did a similar thing with its title card. With this one, the character development of the heroes throughout the series is reflected in the show's opening credits. The protagonists of the show obviously had to evolve to survive, though unfortunately, the change wasn't exactly good. The moral decay of the heroes is evident, as they have been forced to compromise their values multiple times. The opening credits, which display the show's title, have also decayed in every season. This is similar to the deterioration of the Walkers, whose appearance has become increasingly deformed with each passing season. Don't worry though, the opening credits for Season 8 offer a glimmer of hope. They are pristine and unblemished, indicating a change in the fortunes of the show's protagonist. This makes sense, as the end of Season 7 saw the heroes finally rising up against the oppressive rule of the villainous character with the baseball bat. The next show on the list used subtle messages to hint at a character's present rather than the future. And if you're a Breaking Bad fan, you've probably noticed it by now. After all, every single detail in Breaking Bad has a purpose, even more so when it comes to the use of color. The show's use of color is well documented, and it has led respected publications like Time and Slate to analyze it at length. In a nutshell, the colors worn by characters on the show are indicative of their emotional state. When we first meet Walt, he wears bland, unremarkable colors that reflect his meek personality. This changes as he transforms into Heisenberg and becomes drunk on power. His wardrobe shifts to darker, bolder shades. Yet, when Walt is feeling insecure, such as when his cancer resurfaces or when he's forced to abandon his meth business, he reverts to his mild-mannered khaki hues. But it's not just Walt who undergoes this color transformation, and he's just a prominent example. Every character in the series, from Jesse to Skyler to Hank, is assigned a distinct color palette that reflects their emotional growth, struggles, and traumas. It's a fascinating aspect of the show that adds to its depth and complexity. So the next time you watch Breaking Bad, pay attention to the colors and see what you can glean from them. Speaking of colors, do you know who else uses colors to send subliminal messages to the audience? It's none other than Netflix's Daredevil series. Now, Matt Murdock may be a blind man, but the show delves heavily into color-coded messaging. This show has some of the most intense and gritty fight scenes in superhero history, but its most interesting aspect is when it dives into psychological trauma. After all, trauma is what led Matt down the path of becoming the devil of Hell's Kitchen. Wilson Fisk took a similarly dark path to become the villain. In the comics, he calls himself the Kingpin and always dons a white suit. But contrary to this, in the first season of Daredevil, we see him wearing black, and he never calls himself Kingpin. Well, the actor who portrays Fisk, Vincent D'Onofrio, talked about the change in an interview, saying that the black outfit shows that Fisk isn't Kingpin yet. As Fisk becomes more and more like the Kingpin, it is shown through color coding. The eviler he becomes, the lighter the color of his clothes becomes. Later on, when Vanessa, Fisk's girlfriend, convinces him to go public, she steers his sense of fashion to lighter gray suits. And finally, at the end of the season, we see him wearing full white. When Fisk was a boy, his father forced him to stare at pale walls as a punishment, so the color white represents Fisk's fury. And when he wears white, it means he's accepted that rage within him, which can't be good news for our masked vigilante. Now, moving on, there's another Netflix show which uses subliminal messages, and that would be 13 Reasons Why. The series was a mixed bag for a lot of people, though despite its unrealistic portrayal of mental health issues, it still has a bunch of subliminal messages. This comes during a key sequence, when Clay shortly loses himself in the fantasy montage of another reality, where he could have been together with Hannah. During this scene, we hear 1,000 Times by Hamilton Lighthouser playing. This song has the lyrics, "The 10th of November, the year's almost over." Now, let's be real, most of the people in the audience probably don't listen to the lyrics. After all, there are so many TV shows that play songs over montages. Most people don't really listen because they don't have any particular significance to them. There are just songs that the director liked. But that's not the case here. In the finale of the season, the students get brought in for filmed depositions, and the date is, you guessed it, November 10th. The whole year's almost over probably indicates that Hannah's parents will only have some degree of closure after the students confess. The next series is a bit more on the eerie side, and it's called Fringe. I mean, I'm sure you've known a number of creepy characters throughout Hollywood, but honestly, this Fringe character probably takes the cake. Yep, the show takes it to the next level with their Observer character. This bald man in a business suit is present in every episode, always lurking in the background and watching everything that goes down. Sometimes he's just standing there, while other times he's eating. He's always there though, like a stalker that never leaves. After a few seasons, the Observers were finally revealed in an episode called August, but Fox decided to make it even creepier by marketing Observer Week. The Observer popped up in unexpected places, like So You Think You Can Dance. And honestly, it's enough to make you want to lock the doors and pull the curtains, just in case they're watching you. So if you're a fan of creepy sci-fi, Fringe is definitely worth a watch. The Observers might give you nightmares, but you won't be able to look away. Well folks, this is all for bizarre subliminal messages buried in TV shows.